Hello and welcome back to the Seventh Rule. JG has left us. He's going to go party and do some Super Bowl stuff. And Jarrod, Aaron, and myself are going to discuss episode 3 of season 2 of Discovery. Before we get too deep into anything, during the break, Jarrod said he was livid, just livid about something with the newest episode. Let's hear it, Jarrod.
Okay, so spoiler alert, by the way, if you're listening to this, you haven't seen the episode, stop, go watch it, or just keep listening and be prepared.
Yeah, and tough shit. Go ahead.
So Tilly is seeing this spirit that's obviously communicating with her. It's possessed her, it's all that good stuff. And she thinks she's going crazy. And then she finally talks to Stamets and everybody. It's like, oh, there's this thing inside of me. Their first instinct is to rip it out of her. And, you know, at no point did she or anybody else say, talk to it, find out what it wants. It's obviously it's looking for Stamets about something. Find out what it wants. That never happened. The first instinct was, you know what? Rip it out, be done.
You know, and just to jump in on that, the way they ripped it out for a second, I was like, am I watching Ghostbusters?
Yes.
I thought the episode was really good, but my eyes rolled back so hard they almost fell into my butt. Like I was just like, what am I watching here at 1 a.m? I stayed up to watch Ghostbusters all of a sudden, which is one of the best movies ever. Mm-hmm. But I definitely thought that somebody should have been told no in the writer's room.
You know, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. It was absolutely Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. And I did think it was odd that they used the same tool to rip it out of her that they used on the asteroid. I'm like, they don't have anything else? Isn't there some other way to get this out of her? Now, I didn't mind so much that they took it out of her right away, because I do know after watching it that that storyline is going to continue somehow.
Right.
So, but I did ask, you know, that she kept wanting to talk to Stamets, and she had something to say to him, and I wanted to know what that was.
Right.
So I was kind of feeling like cheated that they got rid of her. And did what you just said, Jarrod, because they should have actually had her say whatever she wanted to say to tell that story. But obviously, the way you see the trailer afterwards for upcoming episodes, and it's going to come out later. But that leads to my overall feeling about this episode, that I realized what was bugging me. They had too many stories going on. They had 3 stories going on in this show. And I'm like, why are they trying to tell all these at the same time, when I would rather have almost like an episode that they had last week, where they have a mission where something's happening and one of those stories is being told through that mission. That was all we really needed. And I don't think we have to keep hinting at Spock. We've done that enough. They could have gotten rid of that scene, although I like the mom coming back, and focused on maybe Tilly dealing with her inadequacy, mental capacity because of this fungus, I think it was a fungus, in an away mission that would lead to the ending of however it coming out of her, or whatever the recognition was. And then maybe on the next episode, dealing with the Klingon situation. I felt that would have been a little bit more enjoyable to me. You know,
sure.
Rather than all 3 of them nice and short, you know.
Well, and what they're doing, and the reason for that is because they're clearly trying to be Game of Thrones in space. They may deny it or they may admit it, but we all know they're trying to be Game of Thrones in space. Now, Game of Thrones usually is going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 storylines going on during that hour. So what they're trying to do, it seems, is kind of blend the two, not be as extreme and as scattered as Game of Thrones, which is done masterfully by them, by the way, and not be just so single episodic like, say, Next Generation. They're trying to be kind of an amalgamation of both. And so they're going to have 3, maybe even like a 4th minor storyline, but it's going to kind of blend. And I actually think that episode 3 worked better. You know, like I keep saying, their writing is getting better. To me personally, the writing isn't there yet. And I am grading it on a very difficult curve, because there's just some incredible writing in television going on right now, like whether it's Game of Thrones, like I mentioned, or other great writings in completely different genres, like This Is Us is unbelievable, Glow, The Sinner, you know, there are a lot of really, really good television shows out there. So Discovery, they've got their work cut out for them. So what used to cut the mustard as great writing, 10, 5, 20 years ago, doesn't really count as great writing now. And they're working their way up. They're getting there, and they're definitely good, and they're definitely great at their job. But I think they continue to improve, and I'm happy to see that. And I think episode 3 was a solid episode. I think everybody that watched it was overall happy with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy with it, but what I realized that I like, which is actually goes against, if they did what I like, I probably would have never had all the stories that I had on DS9. I didn't like the splitting of 3 stories. As a matter of fact, I'm realizing I don't like so much an A and B story. I really like them to tell a story and then bring other elements within that journey in that story, if that makes sense. And I felt they did that more so in the previous episode. I love, though, the elements that they are bringing forth. So whether I'd rather it be all told in one episode, I enjoy the struggle that Ash is going through with Laurel. I loved how that played out towards the end with Section 31. I'd love to have an episode where we talk about Section 31, because I still struggle with the idea that Section 31 is here in the sense of with the Federation. And then I think, how would Nog deal with that? And part of me is like, Nog would not like Section 31, just because I think Nog puts in my mind, puts Federation up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
At least where he's at the end of DS9, that he wouldn't do anything against the ideals of Federation, because he's joined in on that idea, on that ideology. But I also think Nog is very smart and very pragmatic, and if he realized as years go by how much bureaucracy he had to deal with and how many things could have gotten done for the better good, I think he might then eventually start to change and go, maybe Section 31 is beneficial to us in the end game, as the ends justify the means. I could see Nog eventually getting there, which is another interesting idea. But I love the Ash story. I also love the whole Spock thing. I felt it was kind of a repeat in this one, and then just bringing her mom in, and then giving a little bit more that there was a problem, that she did something really bad to Spock. I felt that was a bit redundant, and we could have taken that out and given more to the Klingon story as well as Tilly's story. But this will be the last thing, then I'm talking too long. You brought up music last week, so I listened to it a little bit more. And I loved how when Pike said, "That makes 3," about Spock, and the music changed and became more da, 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 like now the adventure begins. Now we're gonna do something. And I really like the subtlety in that music that they did there, and I was listening to it a little bit more, and it is really nice. It is very nice, and it's almost like remember when the spore drive in season 1 and all the spores were falling? I feel like that's how the music is.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of is layered inside, supporting, which is exactly what it should do.
It's very layered. It's very layered. They bring in all these elements, and I love the theme song has that too. It's got a little bit of the original series. It's got a little bit of this and that. Actually, the composer of that, I believe, was the composer of Fringe. I didn't get to throw that in when we were talking about Fringe, but there's a connection there, right? Is that right, Jarrod? Yeah.
Russo.
Larry Russo, I think it is. Something like that.
Just before we leave from the Klingons, when did she have this baby? I mean,